All right, we just went over a bunch of ways the media lies to you. So let me shift gears and go to social media. It's no secret that social media has become one of the main sources of spreading the left-wing agenda. It's also no coincidence that one of its largest groups of consumers, millennials, tend to sway more liberally. Why does that happen? Shocker. Well, if you haven't heard by now, conservative views are pretty much canceled across the internet. Why? What could these companies possibly have to hide? Well, here to help us answer that is Project Veritas's James O'Keefe. James, thanks for joining us. Now, before we get started, I want to play this clip from an interview you had with a Pinterest employee speaking out about the company's liberal bias.
So what are we looking at here? It seems to be a bunch of XXX and porn websites, and then there appears to be the live action website. What are we looking at here?
You're looking at pins with domains that are blocked. Any domain on the porn block list, you can't make a pin like that. And I happened to discover this because of a Slack thread talking about pro-life content, and somebody happened to notice that liveaction.org was blocked. And so I was pretty surprised, and I went to our porn domain block list, and then sure enough, I found Live Action on there.
All right, so let me get this straight, James. Live Action, a conservative group headed by Lila Rose that's pro-life, was blocked as if it was what? Porn?
Yes, pornography. Yeah, that was a story that was unbelievable. You couldn't actually post Bible verses on Pinterest, which is ironic because Pinterest's whole deal is to, share Hallmark cards and messaging and Psalms, and you couldn't do any of that. And the guy who brought that to us was a current Pinterest engineer whose name is Eric Cochran. He was fired by Pinterest for bringing that information to light. So it was not only just what Pinterest was doing, Pinterest was caught doing it. They doubled down. They came out and said, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to make live action no longer pornography. And then they reversed course again and banned them permanently, all because of what this brave insider had given us. Okay,
how did they come up with the idea to code or designate live action? How did they put live action in the same basket as pornography?
That's a rhetorical question. I don't have the answer to it. I don't want to speculate it. It's outrageous, but I guess in their minds they would consider pro-life or anti-abortion content to be obscene, and they would classify it as such. It's outrageous. It's 50% of the country, is pro-life, but what's remarkable about this story is that it took a guy on the inside with access to the code. He leaked us the documents, and he believed so much that people had a right to know this that he was willing to lose his job making what amounts to $300,000 a year as an engineer in Silicon Valley so the public could know this. And it wasn't just live action. It was actually a website, Zero Hedge was on there as well, which is a conservative economics website. There's nothing pornographic about that. Whereas I guess you could argue that abortion, there's something, obscene to a degree. But Live Action is the nation's leading pro-life website, and they were censoring this. And I went onto Live Action. I went onto Pinterest, and I typed into the search query, I typed in the words, Bible verses, and it wouldn't let me complete the word verses. It typed it into versus, like a fighting boxing match. So I couldn't actually type the words Bible verses into Pinterest's query, all because of the code that they had created at Pinterest.
You've managed to get so many people on tape that have admitted what they themselves or their organizations totally denied. Now you've got people coming to you telling you what's going on the inside. Are you getting the sense that these tech companies are just trying to make sure that people don't see this content, that it's not that they're going to specifically come out and say, hey, we're liberal, we want everyone to be a liberal, but they've kind of figured out if they can keep Zero Hedge or keep BlazeTV or keep Lila Rose off their platforms, that there's only so much people are going to search for it if they can't find it right there in front of them?
Yeah, I think that's a very well explanation of what's going on. I mean, my argument is as follows: these tech companies have more power than anyone in media. People need to realize that it's not the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN. Google controls the monopoly on advertising, and they basically have stolen advertising dollars from the media. So, and the media has more power than all three branches of government. So, what these Silicon Valley companies are doing is they're censoring subtly what we see and hear. It's my job to get them to admit to this, but it's hard for me to use undercover techniques to get the information because it's just hard to get on the inside of a place like Google. So what now is happening, Andrew, is that these brave, courageous people on the inside are coming public. And I think that big tech can stop one man. They can't stop an army of whistleblowers. So Project Veritas has changed its vision statement a little bit. And now we're recruiting people on the inside to blow the whistle, like a Daniel Ellsberg, the Pentagon Papers guy, or the famous people in the 20th century, Jeffrey Wigand, the tobacco whistleblower. It's going to require patriots to blow the whistle and to go public and to maybe lose their jobs, because the public must know what is happening inside these tech companies. And these tech companies are now, it's a new era. They have so much power, and just a little bit of changing their code and algorithms can violently swing an election, which is what we're seeing happen now.
You know, I think conservatives are just asking for a fair shake, right? I mean, I don't think it's a very high bar that we're looking for here. And I'll give a silly analogy. It's one thing if the New York Times doesn't want to have conservative writers or wants to be biased in its journalism. It's another thing if the newsstand is refusing to sell a publication that's conservative, right? That's what we're talking about with these tech companies. Nobody's saying that Vox or Mother Jones or whatever it is has to give an equal platform on their specific websites to conservative content. What we're asking is that the by and large broad content providers like an Instagram or a Pinterest or a Twitter or a Facebook kind of not get involved in what is being made available to the public.
What I want is people always say, what's the solution? I want this, just be honest. Just say what your intentions are. If your intentions are to elect Democratic politicians, then just say that. That's what I want. Don't lie under oath. Don't go in front of Congress and say that's not our objective. So I think the first thing we need to do is to simply get these tech overlords, these technocrats, these leaders of the tech leviathan, to simply confess to what their intentions are. What do they want to do in the 2020 election?